All right, let's get to this example now. We have 3 is less than negative 5n plus 2n. Our first step is always try to get all our variables on one side of the equation or inequality. They are already on one side of the inequality here, so we just need to combine like terms. I have a negative 5n plus 2n, so that's going to be the same as 3 is less than negative 3n. I might combine those two. Now that I have the variable term by itself, I need to isolate the term itself, or isolate the variable itself. So we'll divide both sides by a negative 3, divided by negative 3. My negative 3 is going to cancel out. 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1. Because I divided both sides by a negative number, I will have to flip my inequality sign, and I'm left with n. So I have negative 1, it's greater than n. And we talked about yesterday how it is easier to graph these inequalities when we have the variable coming first. So I'm going to rewrite this, my variable coming first. I have my n first, then my negative 1. And if I look at this and think of it as a Miss Pac-Man, it's eating the negative 1, so it still needs to eat the negative 1. If I flip the variable and the number, I also need to flip the inequality sign. So now I need to graph n is less than or equal, or not equal to, n is less than negative 1. So graph negative 1 on my number line. I do not fill it in because there's no equal to sign, and it's going to go to my left. Because I want all the numbers that are less than negative 1 and all the numbers that are less than negative 1 are to the left of negative 1. All right, let's try a little bit of a harder one, a multi-step one that has some distributive property in it as well. So this says we have negative 3 minus 6 times the quantity 4x plus 6 is greater than negative 111. Step 1 is to distribute that negative 6. So when I do that, I'll have negative 3, bring that down. Negative 6 times 4 would be a negative 24, keep the x. And negative 6 times 6 would be a negative 36, greater than negative 111. My next step would then be to combine like terms on the left side of the equal to sign, or the inequality sign. I have negative 3, I have negative 36. So that's the same as negative 24x minus 39 is greater than negative 111. So I have all my variables on the left-hand side. I need to push all my constants to the right-hand side. So I am going to add 39 to both sides. Add 39, add 39. Those cancel out, and that will leave me with negative 24x is greater than negative 72. I've isolated the variable term. Now I need to isolate the variable itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 24, divide by negative 24. Those cancel out. I'll be left with x, and because I divided both sides by a negative number, I need to flip my inequality sign. Is less than, and negative 72 divided by negative 24 would be a positive 3. So I'm left with x is less than 3. Mark my 3, circle it. I do not fill it in, do not shade it in because there is no equal sign there, and this would go to my left. On the next one, if we have time for it, step 1 is to combine like terms. I can combine like terms right here, which would be negative 6x minus 16 is less than negative 5x. Oh, I can combine like terms on that right-hand side too. Negative 5x plus 7x would be a 2x. I already have all my constants on the left-hand side, so I'm going to send all my variables to the right-hand side. So I'm going to add 6x over here, add 6x over here. Those cancel out. I'm left with negative 16 is less than 8x. I'm going to divide both sides by 8 in order to get that x all by itself. I'm left with negative 2 is less than x, and we'd like our variable to come first. I'm going to flip it. X, negative 2, it's eating the x, still eating the x. So I'm left with x is greater than negative 2. So I mark my 2, circle it. There is no equal to sign underneath my inequality, so I don't need to fill it in, and it's going to go to my right. I need all the numbers greater than negative 2. And since we have about 30 seconds left, you might be wondering, why didn't I flip my inequality? Because I divided and there's a negative sign there. We don't divide if there's a negative sign in the problem. We only flip, and I said that in divide, we'll only flip it when we divide both sides by a negative number or multiply both sides by a negative number. Just because a negative is involved does not mean I flip it. It's the number right here that I do to both sides. If that's negative, I flip it. If it's positive, I don't flip it. Okay. So I'm left with x is less than 3 and x is greater than negative 2. We'll move on to the next video.